welcome along to another video, and welcome back to the garden. It's the 31st of October, so I'm now going to dive into one of my favourite autumn jobs, and that is to plant my spring bulbs. Now, the best time to plant your spring bulbs is that period from September to December. So as this is Halloween, it's the 31st of October, so I think we're good to go. Having said all that, what I try to do with all my spring bulbs, whether I'm planting them into pots or into tubs or into the garden, is to make sure that you get them in there before the first of the frosts starts to set in. I know they do survive some really cold weather, but it's always nice to get them in, get them settled, start to get some roots on them and some shoots if possible, before the worst of the winter weather kicks in. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you what we call the sandwich method, or the layered method, or even the lasagna method for planting bulbs. I've been using this method for years now, and what you end up with is a pot with usually gravel in the bottom to help with the drainage, and then a layer of compost, and then in this particular pot here, which is a fairly shallow narrow pot, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches deep, by the time I've got a crock in the bottom, some gravel in the bottom, and then a layer of soil, I've probably used up the first or the bottom 1 inch of the pot. So in this one I'm going to be planting some hyacinths, and then I'm going to top them off with some anemones. I'm also going to use this one, which is a far larger pot, and I'm going to go for a few more layers in that one, and I'm going to start off with a crock and some gravel, and then I'm going to put daffodils in the bottom, followed by a layer of tulips, and then followed on the top by a layer of crocuses. Now, the idea is the succession of that particular large pot will be the crocuses will probably come out March time, followed by the daffodils, and then followed by the tulips. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'm also going to plant out into this nice blue glazed pot. I'm going to plant out some fritillaria. Now, I haven't grown fritillaria before, so this is a new thing for me. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And then I've also got lots and lots of bulbs that I dug up from my allotment last year. I bought a packet of tulip bulbs, and I planted them out under a bed of strawberries. Now, for the last 3 or 4 years they've all been coming up nicely, but I dug them all up last year and they absolutely multiplied. So I've got lots of those to put in. I'll put some in the garden, and then I'll put in some more pots. So let's get going. Let me show you the bulbs that I intend to plant, and then I'll show you how I go through my procedure, or my way of planting the bulbs. So, looking at all the bulbs then that I intend to plant, first of all, let's start off with these hyacinth bulbs. You can see that they've already started to get going. They're all wanting to get in the soil. So that's what I'll be putting into the shallow bowl, and then I'll also be topping off with these anemones blander mix. Now, you'll notice that the anemones on this side are larger than the ones on this side. Now, this is what they look like when they're new and you buy them. Those were bought this year, and that's a blander mix. This is what they look like once they've been in the pot for a year. They do get bigger and they do swell up. So those were ones I bought last year. Those are new ones this year, and they will be going in the shallow pot with the hyacinths. Now, at the back here I've got the mixed tulips. Now, they will be going in the bottom of the big pot, and then I'll just move that out of the way. Here's a selection of tulips that I'll be putting in on top of the daffodils, and then I'm going to top them off with some of these crocuses. Now, you can see that the crocuses are absolutely raring to go. That one there, just about all of them are sprouting, and they were what I planted last year from new. So again, the hyacinths, the crocuses and the tulips and these anemones down the front here have all flowered for 1 year. Now the fritillaria, again, that's what I'll be planting into that blue glazed pot. Now a little word of warning when you're planting out the bulbs. As you can see, I'm wearing gloves. Now for some people with some bulbs you might get a mild irritation from the bulbs. Personally, I've never experienced that, but some people may get that. So when planting the hyacinth bulbs, you have to make sure that the roots are on the flat bit, and the pointy end is where the flower is going to come out from. Those are easy to recognize, and so are the daffodils. Again, you've got a fat bit at the bottom with roots, and then the flower's going to come out the top. Again, the crocuses, you can see the shoot coming out the top as well. And with the tulips, there we go, look, that's where the tulip's going to come out of, and that's where the roots are. However, when you get down to these little minkies, these ones here are a little bit easier to distinguish, but these ones, you cannot tell which is the top and which is the bottom. So rather than planting them upside down and getting no flowers, what I tend to do with the new ones is to plant them on the sides. That way they stand a 50-50 chance of the roots going down and the shoots coming up. Now over here I've just got boxes and boxes. You can see boxes of tulips, there's daffodils, there's irises and there's crocuses in there, and so I'm going to sort through all those once I've finished this demonstration. So starting off with this low bowl, what we first of all need to do is put a piece of crock over the drainage hole, and then sprinkle some gravel in the bottom. That should be about enough. And then a first layer of compost. Now again, I'm just using a normal shop bought, if you will, or garden centre bought potting compost. It's a peat-free mix. You may, if you want to, use specialist bulb fibre, but I personally don't think it's absolutely necessary. I've been using just normal compost for years, and that seems to work just as good. So the first layer then, let's get some hyacinths in. We'll probably be able to get probably 5 in there. There we go, so we've got 5 hyacinths in, a little bit more compost. So that's all the anemones in that one. I'm just going to top it off with another layer of compost, and I'm going to leave probably about ½ inch from the top. Now that's the bowl planted out with the hyacinths and the anemones. I'll give it some water and I'll place that in a shelter spot outside, and then they should be good to go. Right, so here we've got the large pot. I'm just going to place a bit of crock over the drainage hole. Again, some gravel in the bottom. A bit more in this one. That's the gravel in the bottom, followed by a layer of compost. Now, because this is a much larger pot and these are going in quite deep, we can really sort of pack them in together. Now we managed to get 11 daffodils into there, so I suspect we'll be able to get a few more tulips. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said that the tulips are sort of multiplying. Now these tulips are all mixed ones. I bought a load of tulips last year and planted them out, and there was sort of some frilly ones and yellow ones, red ones, pink ones. But when I emptied all the pots out, I didn't particularly were too bothered as to what colour tulips were, and I just made sure that I took them all out, and I made sure that they were all kept in a frost-free place over the winter. Lots and lots of crocuses that are already sprouting. They're already dying to get going. Now again, last year I planted two types of crocus. Again, when I was drying them out last year, I didn't particularly pay much attention to which were which, so these may be a mix of the two different types. All I need to do now is give that another, I suppose, an inch of compost on the top, and then that one will be here complete. Right, so that's the big pot finished. The planting instructions on the back of the packet says that these should be round about 3 to 4 inches deep and about 1 inch apart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plant the whole lot in this one pot because I want a really stunning display of them. Now you could put these in the garden. I tend to just keep them in pots because then you know exactly where they are, and then you know exactly what's gonna come up. Thank you, Mr. Crow, for that contribution. I think one of the main things is that when you're doing this layered method of planting bulbs is not to make sure that the bulbs are not touching each other. You know, you need sufficient soil between the layer below, and but other than that, it's a fairly simple, straightforward method of doing it. So there we go. Look, all the fritillarias are in. Again, I'll top that off with compost, and that's what we should have by spring of next year. Got flowering time April to May, so hopefully by April we'll have a pot of nice fritillaria. To put a label on each one now. That's the 31st of October fritillaria into that one, and then I've got again 31st of October I've got daffs, tulips and crocuses in that one, and same date hyacinths and anemones in that one. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to know when the next video coming out. And to finish, a really big thank you to those 89 subscribers that have already joined me on this channel, and let's see if we can get to 100 by Christmas. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.